Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tonya. As we are recording this near Halloween, it is the thinning of the veil. We are going to talk about ancestors and connecting with our ancestors and guides and all the good stuff. So make sure you stay tuned to this episode. And really, all of our episodes will help you if you're done conforming to others' expectations, if you're done suppressing your wants and needs, and you're done feeling like life has no meaning. You're ready to build a supportive relationship with yourself. You're ready to address those resentments and disappointments that come from all of that suppression, and you're really ready to transform your life from the inside out. You are in the right place. So we're going to teach you how to do this using practices that will support you mind, body, and spirit. So we always like to start this off a little special with some energy clearing. So Tina's taking care of that. Do you want to just ground us a little for the conversation?
Yeah. Go ahead and just close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath in. Allow yourself to pull yourself back into your body. Feel the weight of your seat in the chair. Just feel yourself being here right now. And go ahead and open your eyes. Oh, I needed
Feel
to do
that.
that.
No, I did too. As you were saying that, I was like, I didn't realize how much I needed grounding. So,
Yeah,
isn't it funny
totally.
how, like, we use this word grounding, and I think of growing up and getting grounded, and how that was just the worst thing ever is I'm grounded, and now I'm like, I just need grounded. But it's a whole different meaning. So, it's kind of fun.
Right?
Still need it, just in a different way.
In a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, that the term itself is the same.
Mm-hmm.
We might have to reflect on that for another episode because I'm like,
Right.
my mind starts spinning. Okay, coming back to ancestors. So we are recording this right around Halloween time, and really, almost every culture. There are so many cultures that during this time of year they are honoring past loved ones, the people who have passed on before, and there's a variety of rituals and celebrations and all of the things. But there's this common theme that the veil is thinning. And so let's talk about our ancestors. Let's talk about what that can look like. So actually, let's just start with talking about ancestors and what we're talking about when we say the word ancestors.
So I think that would be our bloodline, our ancestors from, grandma, great grandma, well, mom, dad, great grandma, grandpa, all those things like that. So it'd be our bloodline. But then we also have a group of ancestors that are not. They're the collective, a large group of ancestors that you can call on for um, grounding. The ancestor for grounding, or ancestor for helping you when you're, like, for me, helping me when I'm doing a drum circle, or when I'm making a drum. Different things like that. Ancestor for writing, you can call on those different types of ancestors.
I think I learned that really well with you and Joe and having a conversation with you guys when, because my bloodline, there's kind of a pattern and a history that I don't subscribe to, and I don't like. I don't have another way to say it. It's not my thing. And so I remember talking with you and Joe, and I was saying, I don't want to connect with them. Like, that's not, I don't subscribe to those belief systems and those things. And, that conversation with the two of you was really opened my eyes to, okay, Tanya, you don't, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the collective, and there's more. And even hearing Joe talk about the seven generations that praying for. Do you want to talk about that a little? Because I love that
So, so
idea.
when we, yeah, so when we pray for the seven generations back. So we that's a gratitude to those seven generations. And then we pray for our seven generations coming up, that we can teach them, that we can help them. And and then we also pray for right now. And so when you look, like, even science, what I've heard anyway with science is genetically we carry 7 generations. And so it's been kind of interesting to me that um, we pray for those, the 7 generations. And when we pray, it's like a gratitude, it's a thank you, and it's a prayer for, like I said, the 7 generations before or the after us, that we can, that they do well or whatever, so.
And I love that because it's, for me, knowing that that collective is there, because so much of this beautiful wisdom, I feel, has been lost. And I love connecting with, I mean, I love history. I'm a nerd for history and I love learning about that. I want the old ways in so many, not all, but I mean, I love deodorant and indoor plumbing. But there's a call that I have where I love the candle vibe and everything. But there's been so much wisdom that has just been lost over the ages. And so when I think about working with my bloodline, I think in order for me to get some of that, I'd have to go way, way, way back. But when I think of being able to work with the collective, not necessarily, because a lot of that wisdom still resides in those ancestors of the collective, if that's making sense. So it's just really, I don't know, it was really comforting for me to feel that and hear that.
Yeah, and I feel like when we're able to work with the collective, well, so you hear of so many people that are like they channeled certain modalities, or they've channeled certain ceremonies, or they've channeled certain things. And a lot of times what that is that those ancestors are helping you to bring back those things. So like with my Native American, some of my a lot of my tradition, our Native American traditions were lost because we were like, kind of uh, committed genocide. I have something over here hitting my window. I'm like, what? I thought my cat was outside, and she is. So I got something else over there. Sorry.
The veil is thin.
It's the bell is thin. Somebody's telling me something.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, a lot of our traditions were lost because of the um
Being taken over, basically.
yeah, basically, yeah. We were told that we couldn't do these things. We were, you know, at not asked, but told to submit. And so um they and now some of those traditions are coming back because, that we are learning them, and it is coming from, in a spiritual way, not in a not handed down verbally from, one family member to another. So a lot of it is coming back that way. So I forgot where I was going with that because of my
Action out the window.
something is hitting
Perfect.
the window.
I love it. So when we're talking about working with ancestors, I think it would be really good to give people ideas of ways in which they can connect. What does it look like to work with ancestors? What are some things you do? I can share some things I do. But what is that for you?
For me, and I know we've talked about this in a couple of videos we've done. I can't remember which ones for sure, but um, I know the altars one we did. But I have an altar for my ancestors, and I actually have one that's behind me here somewhere. That is for ancestral patterns. So uh, I have a few items on there that are like from my ancestors, and then I've got pictures of my kids on there and I've got a candle on there that I light on a regular basis. I don't do it every day, but when I'm thinking about it, I go over there, and I have a little bottle of the Bach flower essences,
Mhm.
and it's one specifically for ancestral
Oh,
patterns.
very cool.
And so when I light that candle, I'll put that on me, and then I'll say my prayer or whatever. And it's just kind of helping to clear those, some of those ancestral patterns that are not good, not helpful for us. So I do that, and then I have an altar that I love. I had not. I've always done little altars in the house, but never really had thought about doing an altar outside until this spring when you and I did we did a class about connecting with our ancestors, and I started putting this little altar outside, and I absolutely love having it outside, and it'll probably be outside all winter. And I just have out there, like right now, it's decorated in a fall theme, and I have a candle, which it's under a tree, so I won't light because I don't need a fire. Um, and I have, like feathers and different things on there. But every day I take a cup of coffee out to my ancestors, and that's the way that I connect with them on a regular basis through, you know, and I'll take food. I've got food out there right now and, some grapes and tomatoes and different things. But um, so that's a couple of the ways that I do. But then also so I do drum circles. I do it's actually almost all the time. If I'm in my car and I'm driving, I ask them to protect me or to put a bubble of protection around my car, or I ask them to help, like Joe's been sick. And so then I ask them to put help him. Or when we recently just had a fire close to our house and we were evacuated, and I asked them to put a bubble of protection around our property and other. And so I'm constantly, I feel like a lot of times I'm asking, but then I also will honor in a way of, like with the altars or with, like we recently did a drum circle where we drummed to the ancestors, and we did an honoring of the ancestors. And like I'll go out to my, um, I have a medicine wheel here, and I'll go out to my medicine wheel and I'll drum to the ancestors and thank them, and just, um, as I'm connecting with them.
Hmm.
So those are some of the ways I do it. It's a lot in the prayer. It's like, when I do my, sometimes I'll do a morning prayer, and it's talking to creator, the ancestors, the all, all the beings seen and unseen and everything, all,
Hmm.
calling all of them in to
Hmm.
visit with them.
I do similar things. And I love what I'm hearing from you is that number one, there's no right or wrong way.
Hmm.
Number two, there's not like a set step one, step two, step three. I mean, I'm sure you could find some of that stuff online, but really it's just the intention of connecting and it's asking those questions. So as we know, I'm a writer. I'm a writer downer, right? And so we just did in my Witch Wound group, we just did a connection with our ancestors and we wrote them a letter. We expressed gratitude. We asked for guidance. We really, that was another way of connecting. And then for me, one other way, which I have not totally mastered yet, but I've started because it's come to me a couple of times through people that I really respect, and that is like you've got to start automatic writing. And I mean, I dabbled is my word right now. So I've dabbled in it a little bit. I haven't done it as much, but when I have, the last time I did it, I directly connected with some ancestors, and that was really cool. And could even see the message in the writing. So that was really new and kind of surprising for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I could do it. I didn't think I could. Um, but it would, but so for me, because, and that makes sense for me because I write, I journal, I mean, I love pen to paper. And so that makes sense that that would come through me in that way. Another way that it's come through for me with working with the ancestors has been in meditation, and I'm just kind of doing a visualization meditation, and then here's my grandpa, and I'm like, hey, I wasn't wanting to work with you. Like, I wanted to go a couple generations back. Like, let me go back further. Like, nice to see you. And I was almost like shooing him away just because I thought it was my mind, right? I just assumed it was, I'm in meditation. Here comes a thought. No idea why grandpa came in, but go away. That I'm here to connect with my ancestors, the ancients. And here he is. And then pretty soon here's my grandma. And I remember almost rejecting them. And then I had that awareness come in where I was like, oh, okay, you're here for some reason. And my grandma has stayed since then. And that was like midsummer, we were working on that. So here we are several months later. And it's interesting because I've never really looked at working with the ancestors until more recently, and kind of getting that message from her that like I know she's here to help me with something that maybe she struggled with. So I don't know if it's her specifically or her line, but it feels very like she has a specific something she's helping me with. And I don't know how long she'll stay. We'll find out. But those are ways that I have connected, and that makes sense to me because I'm very visual and I'm also a writer. So between those two, it makes sense that that's kind of the way that I receive, or yeah, well, I'm receiving from them in that way.
Right.
So that's kind of been some of the practices that I've been doing. And the guidance that I've specifically asked them for me personally at this point, I have asked them for help in areas where I have no control, where I really have to surrender and take my hands off the wheel. And like, there's no amount of action steps for me to do to be able to adjust that situation. So kind of, and so I'm like, because a lot of times that involves other people, and I have very strong boundaries around not offering healing or anything for people who I don't have consent from. So I'm asking ancestors, please go address that situation for the greatest and highest good. And that feels okay to me, you know, where I'm just like, you know how to work the magic on the other side that I don't, you know, like, please go help with this. And that feels so good because I feel like I'm doing something where I can't do anything, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So,
And I agree. Um, I think my first connection with one of my ancestors was in a meditation. I'm going back trying to think when I started doing this, you know. Um, it's been quite a while for me. And I've kind of offered, like when I first started going to ceremony with Joe for in sun dances and things, and I knew the ancestors were there, but I never was really one to connect. I didn't know how. I was like, oh, you know, I'll pray, I'll offer him a little bit of coffee here and there, you know, during ceremony and stuff. And but it never really came in personally, I guess, until right before my first Reiki session, or right before my first Reiki class. And I told you about this one. And this person that came in was one of my ancestors. It was a male, and he was it was kind of funny because I asked, should I be taking this Reiki class, and he's like, that's not the way of our people. And I'm like, oh, so it was a Native American ancestor. But I spoke with him in, you know, in my meditation, and he did end up staying with me, and he's with me now. And I'll visualize him. I know when I do like Reiki sessions and things like that, I have a lot of Native ancestors that will hang out with me during my Reiki sessions. Um, and so that's interesting. And I also did, like, when I first started, I think I did like a guided It was like a shaman type of meditation type of thing, but it was the automatic writing. But it wasn't using my left hand because, like with automatic writing, you use your left hand. This one was a meditation, and in this meditation, I'm asking who these ancestors are that are with me, or who guides that are with me, and I would ask and just immediately write down, and then I would ask and immediately write down. And that was very enlightening and very interesting because what from what I understood in from that was that we have, so as far as guides go, which a lot of our guides are our ancestors, and so we have the guides that have been with us all our life or that will stay with us most of our life. But then we have some that are helpers that come in and out and they help us with whatever. And then we have, others that will see once and then that's it or whatever. So um it's interesting working with them in those ways. And so it's been fun. And like I said, just in this last year, I've really learned to connect with them. Actually, in the past 2 years, I've really learned to connect with them in different ways than I had ever done before. So,
It's interesting because I love learning from you, and as you're speaking, like my brain is putting it into my compartments of understanding, you know what I mean? But it was so cool because as I'm hearing you talk about, some are here for a long time, da 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 da. And I have this favorite phrase. I don't even remember where I heard it. It is not mine, so I can't take credit, but it very much to me sounds like it mimics our current non-ancestor connections. So I like to say people are in our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mhm.
So that kind of sounds to me similar to the ancestors. Some are here forever and they're that guide that's been there probably since we were born, whether we knew it or not. They've always been here. We have some that are here for a season to help us with this, that, and the other, and then some that are here for a reason and they're maybe a short
Mhm.
little break. So I just kind of thought that was interesting because when you also said, how do we connect with them? It's what if it's just like connecting with people here? That's kind of what I'm hearing, where it's we connect with intention. We
Mhm.
see someone that we want to speak to and we go speak to them, or we send them a message, or we reach out in some way. If we have someone who wants to connect with us, they reach out to us in some way. And so why does that only have to be in the physical plane? What
Right.
that connection can begin in that way. And then those connections that we foster are the ones that thrive. So just like you and I, we have tons of conversations. That's why we have such a good connection. And we can do that with those ancestors and those loved ones as well. Really, and I think it's important to have like help me with this, but then also that mutual exchange where we're
Mhm.
not always just dumping on them or
Asking. Yeah.
this or I need help with that, but really like not turning a deaf ear to what we would get as well. I
Mhm.
don't know. I just kind of like it was connecting in my mind like that as you were speaking. So
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
And and to me, I know, and I don't know if I've heard this from somebody or where how I know, but I know that they are here to help, but that most of them are, are, they need to be asked, right? And so, and I know that they're always here. Okay, I can't say all of them, but certain ones are here for to help us, to be with us, to show us whatever we need at that time, or whenever we need it. Um, they will give us signs. It's like um I have so remember we did a we sat down with a psychic. We had that little group. Well, I can't remember what it was called, but we sat down with our psychic friend,
The
and
soul
we had a
circle, I think, or
soul
something like
circle.
that.
Yeah. And she I had told you like a few days prior that I had bluebirds, two bluebirds come in front of my car. And when she connected, she was like, bluebirds are going to be, it's your ancestors and it's your female ancestor. Well, what she thought it was a sister, but to me, I feel like it's more of the female ancestors in my family. And maybe my sister's leading the female ancestors. And I feel like maybe my sister um is healing on the other side, because I do know that there are ancestors that aren't healed on the other side still. So, but anyway, so these blue birds, they show up, and I'm like, oh, and now I'm like, oh, my female ancestors have a message for me. And then I start tuning in, because when I first saw it, I'm like, what? I knew there was a message and I knew there was something, but I'm like, what, And so now I'm kind of tuning in a little bit more. I'm like, oh, and so they will always give us those um, signs, but a lot of times we're not seeing them, or we're not feeling them, or we're not hearing them, or even in meditation, we're in a meditation, and kind of like how you with your, no, go away,
I didn't want to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to you. I'm looking for
I
somebody else.
love you, but no.
so yeah, I know that they are here to help us in the different ways that we need, and there are different ones that are, they're here for, like I said earlier, if you are wanting to write your book, and sit down and call in those guides for writing, and they'll be there with you, and they'll help you to write your book.
Mhm.
Or if I want to, when I sit down to make a drum, I call in the drum makers, and ask them to guide me, and they're there to help. So
I in her book, The Universe has your back. Gabby Bernstein talked about asking for signs,
yes, uh-huh.
and that has been really helpful for me because I think the thing to remember when we're thinking about how as well is that they want the connection. And so if there's something that we will understand, we get to kind of put some of those parameters around it, where it can be like, okay, Dad, if you're around, show me a white feather, or, something like that. And then every time I see the white feather, oh, Dad's here. Like, if I don't make that connection, he could be sending me white feathers all the time. But if I haven't connected and assigned that meaning to the white feather, so there's that bit of intention that we can create. And sometimes it'll be like, for me, remember it was about a year ago when the crows started showing up really
Yep.
heavy for me.
Yep.
And I was like, I had not assigned a meaning to that. But all of a sudden they were they were literally screaming at me. And I was like, okay, what is happening? So and then I'm having them in meditations. Like, it wasn't just the outside world. Like, they're coming up in meditations. I have a couple dreams with a crow, and I'm like, okay. So then I start looking at the meaning of crow, because I hadn't assigned it a meaning. So I started looking for what is the meaning. And I got some really cool stuff with that. And I'm still in love with crows. I want to chum one in someday, have it perch on me. But that, so it can be you setting this is the sign that I want, and this is kind of the meaning that I want from it. But then if we have something coming in, we notice, if it's enough to capture our attention, because we're going to completely miss it the first several times just out of human nature. And
Right.
so if it is coming in to the point where we recognize that it's repeating, then is when it's time to be like, okay, what is this? And we can start to research the meaning, or just asking, and maybe in meditation or in a prayer or in whatever, however you communicate with the cosmos in,
Mhm.
practice. But for me, it's research. So I like to look up the meaning of what that is. And then as I'm reading all those definitions, I like what shines. I pick out the shiny stuff where I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, that's it. That is the
Mhm.
word. They like the crows for me really came home with magic, mystical, and I was like, with everything I read, there were several things that I read where it brought up magic, and I'm like, this is what it is, and it felt correct for me. So it was really fun in
Mhm.
that way. And I believe
Yeah,
that's messages as well from my guides and my ancestors to be like, this is the direction, we're kind of helping you.
right. I agree. And I feel like and I do that same thing too. So like if I keep seeing something, then I'm going to start researching and okay, what is it? Because then, like you said, I don't catch it the first few times, and then it's like, oh, keeps hitting me over the head. Then I'm like, okay, okay, no, or like we'll be in, well, even like in that uh group that I just talked about that where we were sitting in there, I felt all of my ancestors behind me. And Jen even was like, you have a whole bunch of your ancestors. Because I was like, what bumped me? Because something bumped me. And she's like, oh, your ancestors are here. I'm like, yeah. And we have the millions. I mean, it's like, it's not just a few. So, and each one of us has, millions of ancestors that are willing to come in and work with us. And so, it's not like we're alone when we're doing a lot of the things, but it is something that we have to be open to too.
And I think that's important as well because, if we have some more immediate ancestors that maybe they passed and we're still pissed at them, like we're still carrying that anger. So it's like, I don't want
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's like, okay, but there are others who have done that. And you mentioned a bit ago about healed ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Expand on that a little bit more.
So, and like I said, I don't know how I know, but
Because you
I
get it.
know that there, yeah. And actually I've worked with people who only work with the well ancestors and and so when we go back to the spirit world or whatever, we still have healing to do. A lot of us do. And so there are those that are going to be healed, are going to work on their healing as they're in the spirit world. And then there are those that are still going to be in similar patterns as, as they go. And so we always want to call on those well ancestors. We always want to work with those that are already healed or doing their healing work. And those are the ones that can help us. So if we're calling on those that aren't healed, it might cause us more chaos. It might cause us more issues. So, yeah, does that make sense? I don't know.
Yes, because we're receiving specific, if we're setting that intention to receive the guidance or the
Mhm.
healing, we want those healed. Um, do you do anything for those who are unhealed? Because I do. I do some practices, but I'm curious if you do healing work for the others. Not that we
Or
don't have
the
to
other
go
side.
super deep, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious if I'm someone who's like, okay, how do I help my ancestors heal? What are some things you would do?
Um, so I pray. So specifically with my mom and my dad, I worked with them over the spring and I took them coffee every morning and I knew that there would be a time when I needed to let them go. And that time came, and because I had pictures of them on my little altar and I was taking them coffee every morning. And it was a prayer time for me. And it was a time of intentionally connecting with them and I don't know if it was healing. I know it was healing our relationships, but with my relationship with both of them. And then when it was time for me to let them go, I buried them in a way that was really ceremonial. It was like we, we did. I put herbs in with them, and I prayed and I thanked them and that type of thing. So really, that's kind of um, one instance that but as I'm working with those with the ancestors, I'm acknowledging them and um I don't know if I want to call it holding space or, but it's acknowledging
Honoring.
and honoring. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
I do. I have little things where I'm just saying hello, saying, just kind of almost repairing that relationship. And
mhm.
I feel that as I heal that a little bit within myself, I believe they receive that as well. But then probably my favorite thing to do is I love using Reiki, especially that sacral chakra where creation is, right? That's the womb. That's where life and ancestors are created. And so I've actually really I've done this for myself as well as for clients where in my mind, I'm just putting my hands on that womb area and just sending love and sending healing. And I do that for myself when I'm doing my own self healing, but I can also do the same thing with the intention to go to my ancestors who need to receive the healing. And I
Mhm.
don't necessarily pinpoint one because I don't know. I don't want to do that. Like whoever may be ready for it is the one that I want to send it to. And who's not ready for it, that's okay. And so that's one of the things that I will do is really intentionally sending that energy to those who need it in my
Mhm.
line and or the collective, like whoever is here to receive that healing from me today. That they're and it's been really interesting because I'm super visual when I close my eyes, like boom.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've seen and even with when I've worked with clients, I've seen just lines
Mhm.
just lined up and like walking through that energy center and walking out and just I mean it feels so cool, to just again feel like you're contributing in some way. And so yeah, there's a lot of gratitude there, a lot of respect there going both ways. So it's really a cool experience for me, but that's one thing. And so for those who maybe don't use Reiki, just sending energy and
Energy.
intent. For
Well,
me, I just choose
yeah.
to put my hands on that space because it helps me focus my mind on what I'm doing. It gives
Mhm.
my brain a job. And so, and I have all kinds of beautiful images that are always different because I like to be creative that way. So sometimes we're in a forest and other times it's a bonfire. I mean, who knows? We're just going to have a good old time.
Right.
But that's been fun to really be able to connect with healing that and knowing that ancestral line is being healed because of the work that I am doing, not only on myself, but intentionally for them.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. That is very, very cool. And when we heal ourselves, when we do work on that healing just for ourselves, we are healing our back and forward. So, um, it's like when I work with on my little altar in here, I know, I am intentionally sending that. Um, I like to light the candle because I don't know, the candle helps to send that energy, and so I am sending that to help to clear those patterns. And then so when we are able to start clearing those patterns, that's helping back and forward. So
I see that a lot with my own kids, and it it took me a minute to actually recognize it. I think it was just a different shift in focus, but to actually see how being the black sheep or the cycle breaker or whatever you want to call it, because for a long time I was doing the work myself. So I was seeing the shifts within me. And then at some point I was able to kind of shift my focus more outward, and just the realization that I didn't raise my kids the same way that I was raised, with the same beliefs. And I'm not going to say that they received all this amazingness, because they still have, like,
Right.
sorry guys, you're going to have to do some cleanup on
Yeah.
that as well. But I see a difference. I see a difference in the conversations that we have, in the depth and richness of our conversations that wasn't present for me and my siblings and stuff growing up. And so I see a difference in that. And even though that's all I see, I don't have grandchildren yet, but I know that they're going to raise their kids their way, but it's going to be different yet again and yet again and again and again, as here goes the ripple effect, right? And so it's been really validating, I guess, because I do want to work on it for me, because I want to, but also to be able to see the even subtle shifts in my kids really, I don't know, brings more purpose and meaning to doing the healing work as well.
Right. I totally agree. And I have grandkids, and I have m my oldest daughter got to see all of the shit, the unhealed version of her mom. And the youngest daughter
I'm like, oh, I'm
had
so
a whole different
sorry to
had a
my
whole
kid.
different, yeah. And that's how I am. I'm like, I'm sorry. But I do see a shift in both of them, and in the way that, they handle things differently, and like you said, in the conversations and the things that we have, um and there's a lot more work to do,
Hmm.
but um but you do see those subtle shifts, you do. And it's just a constant working on it, I think. So,
So, with this being All Hallows Eve coming up,
right.
do you have any rituals or ideas or anything for people to do at that time?
So I'm going to defer to you on this one, because you are the Halloween goddess.
So, to be fair, I am a Scorpio. My birthday is just a couple of days before Halloween. And so I saw a meme the other day where they said something like, it's Scorpio season, and it said something about our birthdays are the only holiday we're celebrating and no one else's exists. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel that. I'm like, so because it's right there by Halloween, I think that's part of why I'm the Halloween queen, because I just love
Yeah.
it. But I believe there's more to it, and I believe there's more that's uncovering for me around this as well. But so yeah, Halloween is just, it lights my soul. Rituals. Well, I don't know what a lot of them are, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do because I'm excited about it. So I don't cook. Um, one of the things that you can do is cook a meal and set a plate of food for your ancestors and sit down and have that meal with them just as if they were here. Having conversation with them as a way to honor. So actually setting a plate of food for them. I am going to do my version of that. So hopefully they will be okay with the food that they get, because I'm not going all out on it. But we might just have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something. I don't know. They'll like it. It's the thought. But that's one way that, and for others, if you want to connect with like someone that you knew this was their favorite dish, you could make that favorite dish for them. So there's very specific, you
Mhm.
can get as specific as you want. For me, I'm like, you get what you get. But I do want to have a chance to sit with them, especially, the veil is thin. We hear this all the time. What does that mean? That means that we have a more direct access, maybe less work involved with being able to connect with those on the other side. So I want to be able to send that love both ways. So setting a little couple table settings and inviting them to come and have a meal with you is one good way. For me, also, I love the candle, right? So I want candlelight. I'm going to be doing some journaling. I'm going to be open the door for automatic writing for any messages that they have that needs to come through. Incense. I love having incense, really cleansing the space. Scrying can be fun if you like to do any kind of divination work, having something like a bowl of water, like a black, dark bowl of water or a crystal ball or something to just, I just want to go total witchy woo because because I feel that energy very much because 'tis the season, right? I feel that around all the time anyway right now. So I just want to honor it. I want to honor all of that, the energy that's in the atmosphere, and then my witchy side that I've just really am having a ball with, and then but really with that intent of connecting with my ancestors. What do you want me to know? What is the information I need to receive? So this is a time for me where I am going to ask for some help and for some guidance, but my main purpose is to, what do you want me to know? And just kind of opening that door. And cards. I can't do a ritual without oracle or tarot cards because so those are some of the
cute.
yeah, because that's just me. So I'm picturing myself like having a little meal by candlelight with my tarot cards, with the journal, with all the tools and things, and just see what happens. I'm not putting a this will happen or it will look this way. I'm just like, let's play. Like I really feel playful with it.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's gonna be fun. And yeah, just even just putting a plate of food out, and that's one of the other things that is good for connecting with your ancestors, no matter what. Even anytime is taking food and setting it, wherever you can just have a meal, give them their meal and set it, outside or set it in, on your counter or whatever. And just and that's one way to honor them too. And that's what I do outside with my altars. I put little food out every so often and just kind of, and I probably will do a meal for them too, now that you said that, because they've been asking for food. It's kind of funny because I'm like, you're getting coffee this morning. And then I hear that, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm hearing these voices in my head that are like, we want food. I'm like, it's just the voices in my head. But
You just say that like it's no big deal. It's just my friends.
Yeah, they're just my friends. But yeah, so that is I love that. Leaving, a plate of food for them. And some people do that every day. I know in a lot of different tribes, that's what they do. It's, every day they leave a plate of food out for their ancestors. Well, not just tribes. I mean, the Indians, the Chinese, all of them, they honor their ancestors in that way. So,
And even celebration. Excuse me. So clearly something's coming through.
yep.
But even that celebration, I
The Day of the Dead.
yeah, I was just going to say I got to attend one of those celebrations several years ago, and it was amazing and so high vibe and so fun, and there was dancing and it was just such a beautiful celebration of life for the loved ones. And I can't get that image out of my head. Like I ended up at a festival and it was just so cool. And so for me, that's part of what I want to bring in is the celebration. So maybe we'll have some music and just really make it a party. I can throw a
Yeah.
party. That's one thing. Maybe not the food, but the rest of it I got. So, so it'll be kind of fun. But I think that's like whatever connects for you,
Mhm.
and as a way to honor, to acknowledge, and not forgetting to celebrate.
Right. I agree. I think
Now I'm
that's
like,
perfect.
I can't wait.
And now you got me kind of excited about it because I'm like, I'm not a Halloween person at all. But now I'm kind of like, maybe I will do some of these things.
So I'm going on. I'm dressing up and everything. It's gonna
Joe
happen.
will be looking at me like, what the hell are you doing?
I know, right? Well, no one will be home at my house, so I get to go full on and not have to worry about any of that. So,
Mm.
um, who knows? I do have a shirt that says, tried to cook dinner and ended up conjuring a demon or summoning a
Yeah, I
demon. Do you
love
remember
that.
that?
Yeah. I
So
love that
I'm
shirt.
like, I'll have to kind of make sure I don't do any of that, but we'll be fine. Well, is there anything? Oh, we have a book that has a lot
Oh,
of
yes.
really great info that we wanted to share in case people want to go deeper on working with ancestors.
Yeah, it's called Answers from the Ancestral Realms. And there's a lot of different, and it's by Sharon Ann Klingler. I don't know how you say it. Um, but there's a lot of good help in here as far as it gives you like a lot of little practices that you can use on a daily basis to connect with your ancestors. It talks about doing healing, ancestral healing work. It talks about, I mean, there's all kinds. It's called Getting Psychic Help from Your Spirit Guides Every Day. So
Mm,
it's there's all kinds of different uh, things that she offers in here. So it's really, I really enjoyed it, and I was just thinking I need to read it again when we decided to do this
hmm
um,
I need
video.
to.
So,
I need to too. Well, and
mm,
we'll put a link to that in the description below so people can just jump right over to the books and the other episodes we've talked about. So check
mm.
the description for that. Anything else that we want to add before we close?
Um, no,
Yeah, I feel complete.
yeah,
This was fun. And now
yeah.
I'm so excited for Halloween. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Will you do a quick bringing us back to the present and to reality-ish? Not too much into
Ish.
reality, just a soft landing in reality. I like to live in
Right?
my own little happy place.
Right? Okay. Close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath in. Another deep breath in. Just feeling yourself in your body. One more deep breath in. Okay. Go ahead and open your eyes and yeah.
Thank you. All right. Let's do some fun stuff this week.
Yeah.
So, with that, we will be back soon. Make sure you like and subscribe, share. If you find this helpful or fun, please tag people below, comment, keep us in the loop, let us know what your rituals are. We love to be able to communicate with you in the comments below. So, please chat with us.
Oh, and don't forget our Wisdom Within
Toolkit.
kit. Toolkit.
Yes, we'll
Yeah.
have the link for that below.
Link. Hmm.
So, check that out as well for a lot of tools to be able to go deeper in all these practices.
Right.